Wyze's products are ever expanding, and maybe even some of their markets that they're selling to. So stay tuned for the latest features, updates, and a lot of new products coming from Wyze. Hello automators, thanks for tuning in again. I'm Brian from Automate Your Life, and today I'm going to take the frustration out of automation by keeping you up to date on one of the most popular smart home platforms on the planet right now, and that's the Wyze Platform. So you can see a couple of their devices here, but instead of starting with one of the updates that Wyze has given us, you know what? We got to talk about the platform in general because there has been massive growth in this platform. And I'm not talking about the new features or the new updates. I'm talking about the fact that there are now 2 million devices utilizing their cloud platform. And to put that in perspective, this was a statement they made in a recent video that they put out. 100,000 devices was what that cloud platform was built for. So there have been reliability issues. The cloud platform has fallen off. We've seen issues with some of their Wi-Fi devices. I've struggled a little bit with the Wyze plug and the Wyze bulb, but in general, they've been pretty good. It's just, you know, we've seen some of the cracks here. And so what they've actually said recently is that they are rebuilding that entire back end, and it has to be done because of the massive growth of devices just like the Wyze Cam. One major update is the new complete motion capture service from Wyze. So this is an add-on service that you can go ahead and utilize, and it's $1.50 per camera per month. And when you kind of think about this, it's really a replacement of a micro SD card. So we've always been able to put the micro SD cards in the back of these cameras, and that has allowed us to record continuously and ignore the 5-minute cooldown that goes to the cloud. It's also allowed us to record things or clips that are longer than 12 seconds. So that's what complete motion capture does. It allows you to basically continuously record to the cloud for as long as the motion is going on in the scene. And they state like days. If you have days going on, well, days of motion is recorded to the cloud. So this is, and even from a pricing perspective, really the price of a micro SD card over a year. Now, related to that new service is the other service that was the first one that Wyze put out, and that was person detection. And this was a partnership between them and a company called XNOR.ai. And what essentially has happened is that company has terminated the partnership through some of the clauses that they had in their contract, in their partnership contract. So what it sounds like to me when I kind of read through things is that company maybe got purchased and needed to get out of this contract, and because the service was on board these devices. So it doesn't make sense that they would need to terminate that for server load or anything like that, but they just terminated this contract, and Wyze really wasn't ready for it. Now, in turn, what Wyze is saying is that they will go and replace that, and they will do it from a free perspective, even if it's cloud-based. So they're saying they're working on it, and it's coming in early 2020, a replacement for this person detection. There were also some firmware updates that came out recently that do some kind of different things than you might expect. The Wyze plug and the Wyze bulbs have always had this little issue where if your SSID, so your wireless, the name of your wireless, if that was longer than 24 characters, you couldn't connect these devices. So that and the bulb have both received firmware updates that correct that issue. The Wyze cameras themselves actually got a firmware update that there was a bug there that stopped motion notifications from coming through off of the Wyze cams, and then also some specific cases where local recording was not going through. So I think we've seen the last of a couple of those bugs, and I was kind of bit by one of them when I went to the non-networked local recording side of this camera. So happy to see those firmware updates come out. Just a quick little interlude here. This is a video that I actually saw shared on the Wyze Core community on Facebook, and Thomas unfortunately gets it good from the cat here. The app has also gone through major updates. So we talked about that complete motion capture a couple of times now, but the rules section has also received a pretty significant update. And one of the little features, one of the things that I think were bugging a lot of people was you couldn't actually take a shortcut or basically a timed shortcut over an evening or over to the next day. And so that has been repaired at this point. You can also go ahead and apply a name to that rule by adjusting the label, so you don't have to look at just say the name being a time frame or the name being the rule that you've created. So this is some good user interface type of stuff. Now, in terms of new products, Wyze has actually announced quite a number of products, and this happened about a month ago, so you might have heard of some of these, and I've even been talking about a few of them for a while. So let's start with the Wyze Outdoor Cam. Now, there was actually a great message, and I love this transparency from Wyze that came out just a little while ago from their, I believe it's their CPO, and he's a co-founder actually, and he kind of came out and said, listen, we tried to get the outdoor cam ready by December here, and unfortunately, we're just not going to be there. It's a trouble with the PIR motion sensor that they've included in that outdoor cam. So they finished their hardware, they were doing all kinds of testing, and basically ran into an issue that they could not resolve in time. So that is going to be delayed. Now, that's kind of right into the next device, which is the Wyze Doorbell, and they're having basically the same problem there. It has a PIR motion sensor on it, and what they're saying is that the outdoor sensing capability with a PIR is a hard thing to handle, and this is an issue with the entire industry, and clearly Wyze wants to get this right, because they were also talking about battery power and some base stations and things like that. So I think what we're hearing is it was probably going to kill their battery power. They were keeping the device low cost, keeping the battery small, and this was just going to kill them. The Wyze Lock is a device that will be out here almost right away. And what I like about this, what I'm hearing about this, is that it will utilize your existing deadbolt. So I don't think this is a hard engineering task for a lot of companies to manage to move your deadbolt. And I like that Wyze is approaching this situation with all of the different sensors and the cameras that they have in your home. So this is very powerful stuff, and it could be here right away. The Wyze scale is actually a thing, and I talked about it earlier in this year, much earlier in this year, as being something that had gone for filing. And so I was surprised at that time. I'm still a little surprised that it's coming through, but it sounds like a pretty cool device that will be out and available Q1 2020. And basically it can track 9 different indices or 9 different measurements, and will be ready for up to 8 different users. So this is a very interesting one from Wyze. And I think the biggest device is the Wyze Thermostat, and what they're talking about is different sensor types, so different temperature sensors separate from that Wyze Sense system for the thermostat that allows you to measure all these different points throughout your home. They're also trying to apply the general Wyze mentality to that situation. So keep it low budget, but also really have it learn from your life patterns. Things like these cameras and those other sensors throughout your home will help you to further this device's smart. Something I always hear whenever I create videos about Wyze is, when are they coming to my country? And I think that's a pretty fair question. And even up here in Canada, they're not here. So you know, what I think I've heard, I think I've gotten a little bit to the bottom of the situation. I mean, Wyze has a very low profit margin, and lots of countries, they have much more expensive shipping costs than, say, the US, and they have good deals in the US for getting their devices delivered to customers. But when you come up here to Canada, this is a really clear indication of what goes on. I mean, just inside of Canada to ship something, anything can be $20. To get it from Western Canada to Eastern Canada, it's going to be over $20 in almost every case. Our postal service just costs that much money. I mean, maybe our government could do something about it. Just saying there, Justin. But If you want to learn to utilize the ones you have in your home a little bit more, I have a playlist up on screen that will show you how to utilize the cameras, the Sense, and the smart plugs and smart bulbs. So go ahead, have a watch of that. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching. And of course, don't hate, automate.